Okay, so this is problem 2.7.35. They ask us to solve and graph, and they give us negative 16x greater than negative 48. Okay, so what we're going to do is divide by the negative 16. And remember that when you divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality sign. So this becomes x is less than, and then negative 48 divided by negative 16 is a positive 3. The person that asked this question asked why it is that when we divide by a negative, we end up having to flip the sign. And let me just finish the problem and then I'll address that. So if we go ahead and graph this, x is less than 3 is going to look like, here's 0, here's 3. We have an open circle on 3 because we're not including it, and less than is shading in that direction. Okay, so set notation here would look like x such that, so this is x such that x is less than 3. Okay. All right, so the easiest way for me to explain the whole flipping of the sign thing is to just think about what happens when we have some numbers. So for instance, let's say I'm considering the numbers 6 and the number 2. And if I wanted to just put an inequality here and make this a true statement, we would have to put the inequality such that we showed that the 6 is greater than 2. Okay, so this right now, 6 greater than 2, that's a true statement, right? Now, if I decide to go ahead and multiply both sides by a negative 1, then what I'm going to get is a negative 6 is greater than a negative 2. So remember, we started with 6 is greater than 2, and that was a true statement. But if I multiply both sides by a negative here, now I'm ending up with something that is a false statement because negative 6 is not greater than negative 2. So in order to account for what's happening here, we actually have to take this sign and flip it and make it a sign in the other direction. Okay, the reason for that is when you multiply by something negative, and if you take a look at these numbers, you know, the 6 is a larger number than 2. But then when we go to multiply by a negative, negative 6 becomes a smaller number than the negative 2. So that flip in location on the number line is what requires us to flip this inequality sign in order to keep our truth value the same. Okay, so that's really why we do that.